Imagine boarding a flight like any other day. The passengers are relaxed, the crew is professional, and the aircraft is one of the safest ever built. Then suddenly, without any warning, it vanishes. No distress call, no radar trace, nothing. Just an empty sky where moments ago a Boeing 747 had been flying. It sounds like a scene from a Tom Cruise movie, but it's a terrifying reality that has unfolded several times throughout aviation history. Today, we will uncover one of the most chilling cases that still haunts experts and families alike. It began as a routine flight. Weather conditions were normal, the aircraft was fully inspected, and communication with air traffic control was clear. Yet somewhere along its journey, the airplane simply vanished. On March 8, 1977, the world was shaken by the news that ADC-10 jetliner operated by the American carrier National Airlines had gone missing. The plane was on a scheduled domestic flight from Fort Lauderdale in Florida to the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York. It was a short trip of approximately 320 miles or 520 kilometers that had been undertaken countless times before without incident. This particular aircraft, tail number N60108, was a seasoned traveler, having accumulated over 14,000 hours of flight time. Moreover, it had undergone a rigorous maintenance check just 2 days prior to the fateful flight and was deemed in perfect condition. The DC-10 was relatively new to National Airlines. The airline had only acquired it 3 months prior to the flight and had plans to incorporate more of these modern jets into their fleet. For passengers on board, this disappearance would be the last thing they ever experienced. As the DC-10 took off from Fort Lauderdale at 1:42 p.m., everything appeared normal. The plane soared into the cloudless Florida sky, leaving behind a contrail that quickly dissipated into the azure expanse. On-the-ground air traffic controllers watched the plane's blip disappear from their radar. As it turned toward its final approach into JFK, they expected to see it re-emerge in a few moments as it entered Long Island radar coverage. But the blip never reappeared. The DC-10 was nowhere to be seen. As minutes ticked by, an unsettling feeling began to grip the control tower. Where was the DC-10? Had it veered off course? Had there been a navigational error? Or was there some other explanation? At first, the authorities believed that the plane might have simply strayed too far off course to be detected by the local radar. However, when a routine radio call was met with silence, their worst fears were confirmed. The plane was missing. The jetliner that had left Fort Lauderdale with 261 people on board had vanished into thin air. The disappearance of National Airlines Flight 10 was a mystery that defied easy answers. The authorities scoured the skies and the seas for the missing aircraft, but it was as if the plane and its occupants had ceased to exist. In the days that followed, the focus of the investigation shifted to the last known position of the aircraft. Was there anything unusual about the area that could shed light on the plane's disappearance? The answer, as investigations revealed, was both intriguing and perplexing. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, discovered that the DC-10 was equipped with state-of-the-art technology that would have alerted the crew of any unexpected changes in altitude or speed. Yet there had been no such alerts. The plane's trajectory was another puzzle. The DC-10 was designed to fly at high altitudes, cruising comfortably above the clouds. But the last radar readings suggested that the plane had been flying unusually low, skirting dangerously close to the coastline. To unravel this enigma, the investigators delved into the weather reports for the day. They found that while the skies were indeed cloudless, there was an anomaly. An uncharacteristic inversion layer had formed near the coast, creating a blanket of fog that could have disoriented the pilots. Had the crew become disoriented due to the fog and accidentally flown the plane into the ground? The thought was chilling. But as the investigation deepened, another perplexing detail emerged. The DC-10 had been in contact with air traffic control after departing Fort Lauderdale. In fact, the pilot had acknowledged a distress call issued to all aircraft in the vicinity. Yet the NTSB couldn't ascertain what response, if any, had been given by the crew of Flight 10. There was no record of a reply. It was as if the plane and its occupants had muted themselves from the world. As part of the investigation, a massive search operation was mounted involving the U.S. Coast Guard, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and civilian volunteers. But despite the Herculean efforts, not a single piece of debris from the plane was ever found. Neither were any lifeboats located. It was as if the plane and everyone on board had simply dissolved into thin air. In the aftermath of the tragedy, many conspiracy theories arose. Some suggested that the plane had been hijacked, while others believed that it had been deliberately shot down. However, none of these theories could be substantiated. The lack of evidence left a gaping hole for speculation to seep into. One of the most intriguing theories that later emerged was the possibility of a previously unknown magnetic anomaly causing the plane's disappearance. Magnetic anomalies are disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field, often occurring near certain geological formations or areas with high levels of magnetic minerals. These anomalies can sometimes affect electronic equipment, potentially interfering with the plane's navigation system. While intriguing, this theory remained just that. A theory. Despite the best efforts of the investigating agencies, the fate of National Airlines Flight 10 remains a mystery. The silence of the plane, the absence of debris, and the lack of any conclusive evidence continue to baffle experts and the families of the victims. It is a stark reminder of how little we truly understand about the world around us and the limits of our technological prowess. Just over a year later, on December 8, 1978, the world watched in suspense as a DC-10 lifted off from Paris bound for Dallas. On board were 251 passengers and a crew of 13. The flight was uneventful. The passengers relaxed, enjoying the comforts of the modern jet, but unbeknownst to them, a chilling fate awaited them. Over the next few hours, the pilots guided the plane across the Atlantic, maintaining regular contact with air traffic control, but then came a routine radio call that sent a chill down the spines of the crew. Air traffic control informed them of a potential problem with their cargo door. Concerned but not alarmed, the pilots decided to address the issue. They would divert to an alternate airport to inspect the cargo door. However, as the pilots prepared for the inspection, disaster struck. With a sickening lurch, the cargo door flew off its hinges, tearing open the side of the plane. A sudden rush of air destabilized the plane. Luggage and debris rained down on the passengers. Amidst the chaos, the crew struggled to regain control of the aircraft. The fight to keep the plane airborne was intense. Every ounce of the plane's strength was being tested. The pilots fought valiantly, managing to keep the plane steady. But as the minutes passed, it became clear that they were losing the battle against the elements. The damaged fuselage was slowly draining the plane of its precious oxygen, making it impossible for the crew to maintain a safe cabin atmosphere. With the grim realization that their efforts were in vain, the pilots made the heartbreaking decision to abandon the fight. They informed the passengers and crew of the dire situation they were facing and prepared for the inevitable. As the jumbo jet plummeted toward the ground, the screams of the passengers filled the air. The plane hurtled through the sky, its fate sealed. As the DC-10 hit the ground, the impact was devastating. A thick black cloud of smoke rose into the sky, a grim testament to the tragedy that had unfolded. The once proud jetliner was now a mangled wreck, its fuselage torn open like a discarded aluminum can. In the aftermath of the crash, the world mourned the loss of 266 innocent lives. The disaster shook the aviation industry to its core, raising questions about safety protocols and material strength. The investigation into the crash revealed that the cargo door had failed due to metal fatigue. This unexpected weakness had led to the premature separation of the door from the plane's fuselage. Yet amidst the grief and sorrow, there was one question that continued to elude a definitive answer. Did sabotage play a role in the tragedy? Conspiracy theories abounded, suggesting that the crash was no accident, but a deliberate act of destruction. However, despite extensive investigations, no concrete evidence of sabotage was ever uncovered. The theory remained just that, a theory. Air France Flight 2278 serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of modern technology and the unforgiving nature of the elements. It is a tragedy that not only shook the aviation industry, but also raised profound questions about safety, sabotage, and the limits of human ingenuity. Both cases demonstrate that even in the era of advanced technology, the skies remain a realm of uncertainty. The disappearance of Flight 10 and the catastrophic failure of Air France. Flight 2278 serve as chilling reminders of the forces beyond our control that can emerge even in the most routine of journeys. They are stories that continue to captivate, to intrigue, and to terrify, ensuring that the tales of these vanished flights live on in the annals of aviation history. These unsolved mysteries leave us pondering about the unseen forces that shape our world. They remind us of the vastness of our planet and the limitations of our understanding. So what do you think happened to these planes? Do you believe in mysterious magnetic anomalies? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again for more mysteries on Riddle Code. Thanks for watching.